Hey guys, welcome to our end of week soul care reflection. I hope you've joined us or will be joining us soon. Maybe let a couple of friends know if you want to have them join with us here as well in a virtual way where we're going to take, usually 20 to 30, sometimes a little more minutes to have an end of week reflection on how our souls are doing. And also pause to notice some wins. What's a fun thing that we can celebrate and that kind of stuff. And the deep, fun, best way to do it is if you guys are interacting with us, either now in real time in the chat or in the future. And so last week I was in Illinois. We had a family wedding out there, which was really fun to celebrate with everyone. And so I was able to do it actually outside. I didn't ever say it, but I was outside the my old stomping grounds. I was outside of the main sanctuary at Willow Creek, and it was fun to just sort of be back in that space and see some friends that I hadn't seen in a while. So it was a great time, family wedding, etc. But today I'm back in Boulder, Colorado at Whisper Ranch. I'm in what we call the Dream Shed, which we just love. And this is like my office when I'm here in Colorado. And it's like a one little room with a vaulted ceiling and some pretty windows and gorgeous views of the mountains just out there. Maybe someday I'll figure out how to flip this around and show you. But I can see it, and it's very beautiful. You can see like a little bit of a pine tree probably up there. But wherever you are today, so glad you're here. And if you are joining us live, or even if you catch this in the future at some point, go ahead and share where you're joining us from in the chat, and we'll be able to see it, and it'll be fun to know where anyone else is joining us from. So the main idea here is that we initially in this time pause and go through a little bit of a slowing, let the RPMs drop just a bit, enough to invite God to remind us what are some of things from this past week that that we just want to notice, we want to acknowledge. I just had an email from a client, friend, business leader who at the end of his email, where we were both talking about how we're doing similar things these days, which is really fun to be learning from each other. And he just ended his email, "Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it?" And I just love that he ended that email that way. And that's our spirit too today, to notice where is maybe a new thing that God is doing in your life. Perhaps that could be the reflective lens that you prayerfully put before God in this time. Just maybe wherever you are, kind of take a few deep breaths. The experts say it's best to inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, and let your body kind of come to a slowing, and invite the Spirit to guide your thoughts. Shut your eyes if that's available to you or feels like a good invitation. And just invite God to remind you something of this past week that you want to notice, to pay attention to. Maybe it's a new thing. Maybe it's something you could say, "Oh, I can see that God is doing a new thing in this area of my life." So I will just invite us to do that. Maybe take a few breaths. And then if you're live with us and want to take a minute to put something in the chat of what you notice or what you sense the Lord bringing to mind, we would welcome that. Definitely would welcome that. Perhaps that's something we could have you do. Oh, is this Kiki? All right. Here is our friend Kiki from Arkansas. I was just talking about you this morning with somebody else that we have as a mutual friend. So, or no, I guess it was yesterday, Laura House. So anyway, very fun to have you join us. So you can start out if you want. I think we may have a couple of the Soul Care team members that might be jumping in as well, which would be so fun to hear from anyone. What is a noticing? What is perhaps a new thing that you sensed God doing this past week? And as I was preparing for this time, I had time to kind of pause and think myself. So while you're going through that, looks like I'm kicking my table here. I won't do that. While you're doing that, I can offer a noticing that I've had this past week, and just kind of bring you into a little bit of my own journey, my own spiritual journey. And I do hope that invites you to maybe do the same, just in your own, but also to share with us if you feel comfortable. So my husband Jeff and I have started a new kind of a small group, and it's fun. We're just naming, somebody named the group chat The Apprentices, and that's our desire. A lot of these couples, like the two of us, have are close to or at empty nest stage, so it's a different season of life. But many of us have been journeying through the priorities of, you could say, the care of the soul, or the ways of Jesus, the spiritual formation journey. All these things would be true of this group. And so we've kind of come around this idea that we want to gather every other week and try to help each other be paying attention to where is God at work in our lives and how we're joining him. And one of the women who is a spiritual director has been part of the soul care team and just dear friends. And so she's actually coaching us on how to use the environment as like a bit of a group spiritual direction kind of structure. So there's not like a particular curriculum we're doing, but there's a way we're being present with each other that has just been really, really, really special. So, so each time it's someone else's turn in the group, there's 8 of us, to share. You have a certain amount of time to like share a thing, and then the group holds silence and listens to God, and then can offer observations or noticings or questions. Obviously, it's no advice. Nobody's telling, that kind of stuff. It's a really safe place to have the group kind of help you process some things. So anyway, during my time, I was like told a little bit about something about being with my family for the family wedding and how that was beautiful. And then I also shared that I had noticed a heavy amount of resistance in me to an idea that my husband Jeff had had about the development of the land here at the ranch. And I had brought that to him. We talked it through. Some really fun things happened as I was becoming more open to a different concept and idea. But what I brought to the group was how I noticed how entrenched my resistance was, and that kind of alarmed me. It's like, what is that about? And so that was one of the things that one of the individuals noticed and asked me about, and said, that's curious, that word you used of resistance, what else could you say about that? I don't remember what her question was. Very non-leading, non-directive, but still an invitation to pay attention. And you guys, this week I have been like writing about it in my journal. I've been really pressing into, God, where does that show up in my life, or where else does it show up in my leadership at Soul Care? Does it show up all these other places? And so really, really good metabolizing of some of that. So that's what I will contribute to our reflection over the past week. I feel like I was given a gift of someone helping me notice and further name and pay attention to that resistance. And it has provoked some really good conversations with God and with my husband, and with some of the members of our soul care team. Because I came away going like, I don't think I want to feel that firm a resistance. I want to notice a preference. I want to notice what I think about a thing, but I really want to hold space for praying that God's ideas would unfold. Anyway. So anyway, that's enough about me. That's what I'm noticing. And I see that Kiki has some other things to say. So Kiki, I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to share these with the group. You're writing about the Friday reflection, the email that goes out. Guys, everybody loves those. If you're not on our mailing list yet, please go to soulcare.com, sign up for our email communications, all that kind of stuff. And every Friday morning, this is on Friday afternoon, but every Friday morning, there's an email that goes out that the team creates that is just fabulous. It's loosely based off of our semi-silent retreat each month, which Kiki's been part of that as well. And then for the next few weeks, the Friday morning reflection is our team member Meredith, who's just fabulous, pulls together a really beautiful reflection exercise. And so I get emails from all over the place from people who are sending it, and people are sending it to them, and it's just really fun. But you should get in on that if you haven't yet. So Kiki says that in the Friday reflection this morning, God really brought to mind the word honor in Romans 12, 9 through 21. In this season we're in, with the elections coming up, it's so critically important how we treat the people God brings across our path. Oh, Kiki, that's beautiful. Beautiful. So thanks for sharing that. That's your reflection as you're looking out on this past week. And if anyone else has one or two thoughts of your reflection and maybe where you're coming from, we would love to hear it. And Kiki, my goodness, yes. My Instagram and Facebook feeds are flooded with many opinions, many loud, many that do hold up the value of honor, and many that surface level. I haven't dug deep into any of them, but it doesn't feel like that's the leading edge anyway. So a good word for all of us. Thank you for sharing that. So if anyone, again, has another one, go ahead and add them in. But what I'd love to do now is transition a little bit to what we think of as our weekly wins. And today I've only got a half calf coffee, so it's not anything too exciting to have my beverage of choice. But this is the time of the week where our team and other teams I've been part of leading in the past, it's just such a fun thing at the end of a week. And it's a little bit different than this reflection. To pause and celebrate what was a win, what was a fun thing for you, for your work, for your ministry, for your family life, personal life. It doesn't really matter what domain. But guys, it's really important to just pause and not just notice. That's great. But notice particularly, where were there things that maybe we just blur into the next day and don't pay attention to, that are really cause for celebration and acknowledgement. So I had some that I wanted to share that have come from me out of this past week. It has been a remarkably full week after we were gone. Of course, all the thunderstorms that were heading through Chicago, we didn't get until 3 a.m. on Monday. So it's a bit of a bleary-eyed start to the week, but it has been a pretty significant week of advancing on several fronts. And I'm very grateful for that. That's kind of what has happened. But the win that I wanted to name, and somebody just processing with me yesterday helped me notice this, because I probably didn't even think of it, is just the idea of partnership. And that soul care and our work, we have been so blessed to be partnering with a couple really significant organizations and initiatives that are going on, that some of them I thought it'd be fun to share with you. But it's not only is it, strategic and all those things to like everybody brings what is their sort of specific gift to a collaborative effort, and then all of a sudden way more can happen as a result of these collaborations. But it's just a way higher fun factor, right? It's just way more fun to find people who care about the same thing you care about, and who bring energy and maybe a different skill set to that particular thing. And then the fun factor just kind of takes off, because, I don't know, there's joy. It can be lighthearted, even if it's quite serious issues that you're dealing with. The lightheartedness and the joy of shared collaboration, a shared partnership, can be really great. So for one, that I thought would be fun. So, and if anyone has a thing you want to celebrate as a win, just drop it in the chat and we'll pay attention to it together. But some of the wins in the category of partnership that I thought I would share with you today. The first is there's a church in Orlando, a large church that has been doing some really great work in the area of soul care with their staff. But the senior pastor, who's a friend and has been involved with many sort of missionally oriented endeavors, and has a huge passion for evangelism, for discipleship, for the care of the soul, all these great things for healthy leadership, had a great sort of next step in planning some things that won't happen till January. But we're looking at coming together to say, I mean, they have expertise in hosting and housing large events at their church. And they have an interest in the care of the soul, not only for their own team, but also for their congregation. And so we had a couple members from our team with their the person who's running point on this for their team. And it was so fun to start thinking about over the next 6 months, how could we start planning towards something in early January that is for their church, and how their own congregation can be inspired and equipped to help care for the congregants that are part of their community, care for the souls. Like how could soul care show up as almost like a ministry of the church to the people in their community? Like, this is a big idea. I'm very excited. And many people would say the care of the soul is actually the original vocation of the church. The whole thing, the whole point. I've got some books over here about the history of the church, and like that is the care of souls was the earliest understanding of the purpose and the vocation, the calling of the church. So kind of fun to explore that with them. And then further, that's for their congregation. And then further, how could I'm going to be speaking, I think it's all firm, but at their weekend services, which is really a huge honor. I'm very excited about that. But like leading up to that will be this thing that's for their congregation to inspire health and well-being of the soul, and then equip their congregation to sort of walk with others in that way in their context. Awesome. But then we also want to have a soul care for leaders event that they are hosting, that like there's a lot of other ministries that we're connected to, that, you know, Crew is got headquarters in Orlando, and Wycliffe and Pioneers, and lots of other big ministries, larger churches, and any kind of church, but leaders who are doing ministry or located around there. That's just a kind of a fun idea. So we're starting to plan that, and it's an expression to me of partnership and the kinds of things that can happen in partnership that wouldn't happen otherwise. So anyway, that's just one. And it looks like we've got Kelly joining us from northern Michigan. Like, of course, that makes me wonder, how far north in Michigan? Are you like way, way, way up near like Canada? And is it Lake Superior up there? Anyway, northern Michigan is epic. Welcome, Kelly. We're glad you're here. And feel free to chime in if you have a reflection from the past week that you want to share, or if you have a win. You and Kiki and anyone else who's joining, love to have you guys chime in with a win that you're celebrating at the end of this week. And it looks like Kiki already did put one in here. All right, so from Kiki, you had your quarterly worship prayer celebration last night with the YouVersion volunteer team. And it was just so sweet to be together and celebrate what God is doing around the world. Oh my goodness, that is a big, huge win. Love that. Love it, love it, love it. I want to hear more about what you guys are doing with YouVersion. Are you partnering with them for your all your training and the spiritual first aid stuff? I'd love to hear more about that. Maybe you could put a post, a link to any of the YouVersion reading plans or whatever it is that you have, content out there, and we would love to make sure everybody knows about that. So very fun. Okay, so for me, partnership expression one was this church, Orlando. Some of the fun things that we're planning for the opening weeks of 2025, which, can you believe, here we are. Another thing that is from this past week that I would put in this category of wins, but relates to partnership, is a growing collaboration that I've been part of for coming on 2.5 years, I think. and have taken myself and our team at Soul Care has taken on a responsibility to help shepherd and lead this collaboration, but it involves probably over 40 or 60 organizations, lots of different leaders across different things, and it's just called Leader Care. And we have a early expression of the website. It's leadercare.us, if anyone wants to go check it out. But and when I say early expression, I mean it's like, we're not promoting this broadly yet because we're just still finding our way with messaging and et cetera, but needed to get something out there. And this collaboration is a really significant one, and it's looking to pull together people who care about the well-being of leaders broadly, and who God has given the resourcing to help fund services to leaders who need help. Then in the middle of it are the leaders who need help. And then on the other side of this sort of, I'm air drawing almost like a platform. On the other side of this are practitioners or organizations like ours with Soul Care, but many others that provide coaching services or counseling services or retreat services or any other kind of intervention, ideally aimed not so much at like crisis intervention, but preventative. Like, how do we start elevating soul health, the leader health, so that we can kind of get on the front end of supporting leaders adequately and them having the permission, the rationale, everything else to take care of themselves as a first order priority, not as something that they do when everything else, like when they have nothing better to do, which we got to change that narrative. So this Leader Care initiative is, it's just starting to find its legs, and we're getting some response from the donor community that is very committed and interested in making strategic investments that actually start to move the dial on this. We're getting significant interest from researchers who are knowing how to measure this kind of thing and show that a help is actually helping. We're getting significant interest from a technology platform to support the whole thing. Like, it's really fun. And so as a result, again, as an expression of partnership, myself and our team, we get to bring what we can do. And as everyone else is bringing what they can do, this is going to be a very significant, we trust, way to elevate awareness about the need for leader care, period. Also to create collaboration among the different organizations who often are so busy, sort of heads down in their own lane, that they don't really get to know each other and hang out and learn from each other. One of the members of the collaboration was literally visiting me here at the ranch this morning, totally spontaneous. He knew where we were, texted me and said, "Hey, are you around?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." So because he stopped by, I was able to ask him some of like the thorny questions we've been wrestling with at Soul Care about how to run the guts of some of our spiritual direction things that are always wonky, and we're always trying to improve and then improve again and then keep improving. And he has an organization that does a different thing, but they've been through some of those cycles. And I mean, in 20 minutes, he had just helped in a way that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So collaboration is important, and this partnership, whether it's formalized or informal, is such a blessing. And I do sort of think it must warm the heart of God. I don't know if God's got a warm heart for, I don't know how God experiences his own heart, but I think the way we have delight seeing our kids play together well, I think God probably enjoys seeing his kids play together well. So that is just a really huge gift to the body of Christ that is still under development. We'll have a significant launch in early August, and then some other things coming in the future, but just so grateful for the opportunity to partner with this great vision with Leader Care. Some of the founders of this on our executive committee have had experience in seeing, I don't know if you're familiar with this whole collective impact framework that came out of Stanford originally, has been adopted in a couple different environments. And it's kind of like the backbone behind it's called Every Tribe, Every Nation, E10, E-T-E-N, E10. that came around Bible translation. Probably probably a 15-year running collaboration that has brought the reality of the every tribe, every nation having the scriptures in their language out from this crazy wouldn't that be nice ideal and actually into a oh we know the timelines, we have the estimates, we've got the funding aligned to the right partners who can get us this far this fast, and it's just beautiful what's happened. And so he in particular has been very keen to say, I've seen what happens with collaborations here, and I've seen it in the generosity space. And I think this leader care is the next sort of horizon to be bringing this collaborative energy to. And so, anyway, if anybody's interested in more about that, you can go look at that website, fill out our little form to be a part of it. But that we're really excited to see that continue to grow. And it's a little call out. If you have a little win that's anything else you want to add, please do. Love to hear from you all. And but I will offer my final partnership category win that I'm reflecting on at the end of this week. And that's just with the partnership we have, and it's kind of related to leader care, but with ECFA. They are the organization that credentials Christian nonprofits for reassurance to donors that donations will be correctly stewarded in their organization. Okay, now hang with me. You're like, how does that have anything to do with soul care? Follow the, the bouncing ball kind of thing on this, because it's breathtaking to me. Though this organization, for the better part of 5 or more years, this is not because of any recent headlines or anything like that. It's not reactionary. Their board and senior leadership for years now have been very keen to notice that one of the biggest financial risks, if not existential risks, to a Christian organization that is donor funded is when there's a major failure at the leadership level. And with all the concern and appropriate sensitivity to how and why and the complexity of those things, they've started to say, wouldn't it be wise for a board to have awareness of a leader's well-being, and not just awareness? What if they needed to have conversations about that leader's well-being, and specifically, how can the board be sure that that leader's doing what it takes to stay in a place of health, with a tremendous amount of empathy for how difficult and challenging senior executive leadership is in these contexts. And so this is still not firm. It's still being developed. I have said to them from the get-go, you have my prior yes in any way I can support you, because I think this is one of the most important things that has been under development. So again, I hope I'm not jumping any guns here. They've notified their members. They are they have 2,700 member organizations. And I hope more and more organizations will want to become ECFA members in order to demonstrate to their donors, hey, we're taking care of this. We prize the well-being of our senior leader so much that we are eager to come alongside in a way that gets on the preventative side. We just want to be supportive to and understanding of the very high demands that leaders are under. And so anyway, it's a really fun thing. They are in I think, 180-day listening phase. They're so deliberate, you guys. They are the accountants and the lawyers, and they are so smart and so wise in how they are approaching this topic, with a great amount of, I will say, Jim Collins talks about a deep, almost embarrassing levels of personal humility and a fierce resolve for the good of an organization. And those are the two characteristics of a level 5 leader, according to Collins and his team's research. And that's what I'm experiencing here is you have a humility that isn't in any way calling attention to itself. Like these people do not want to be, I mean, they're such humble-hearted leaders, but they are saying what God is ours to do as it relates to the well-being of senior leaders' souls. Now, of course, we all hope that well-being of a senior leader soul trickles down to the well-being of an organization. And I do, when a senior leader is healthy and intentional about it, I've seen it time and time again. They can't not operate in a way that inspires health and intentionality in the rest of their organization, whether they operationalize it or not. It just becomes the water everybody's swimming in, it becomes the air they're breathing, and it will have a downstream impact on organizations. So anyway, those are some wins for me in the category of partnership this past week, that are sort of rising to like ecosystem level. These are things that are happening, not just wins for soul care. I do think they have benefit to our organization, and we're delighted to keep growing and expanding as we have these partnerships. But the bigger question before all of us is how do we help all boats rise? Like how does this topic receive the attention that it warrants and the support that leaders warrant in order to finish well and to flourish while they're doing it? That's the tagline for Leader Care, is flourishing leaders finishing well. And friends, I that's what we would hope for you. And I will quote one last another partnership organization that we deal with. It's got a couple thousand employees around the country. We were talking to the individual who's been chartered with this like culture of faith, strength of faith. They all have their own language for that, which is as it should be. But they, he said, let me see if I can find it in my notes. It was such a great line. He said, for leaders to flourish, if you want to flourish, you've got to nourish. It's like, who comes up with this stuff? He's great. But if you want to flourish, you got to nourish. So I loved that. So anyway, that's our prayer for you, myself, our team, those on the call. Thanks for joining in. And we do hope, trust, pray, and encourage you to take some time. Maybe today, whatever today is for you, if you're joining us at the end of a week and are heading into a weekend, our hope is that you'll take some time to be intentional with the care of your own soul over the next few days. It really matters. The work you do matters. The calling on your life matters. And it matters that you be doing that work out of the overflow of what's happening in your life and in your life with God, not happening out of deficit. So, we can't give out of vacuum. It doesn't work in physics, and it doesn't work in the spiritual life either. So, Godspeed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.